Earlier this week, the sister of late Senator Lindsey Graham was sworn in as his replacement until January of 2027. Here's what Darline Graham had to say at the ceremony.
It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months to support the president and carry forward the efforts of my brother on behalf of the citizens of South Carolina and the United States. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him in this way. Now, to Lindsey, I miss you more than I can even put into words, but I'm going to do this. I got it.
There's been a precedent since the 20s of family members replacing officials who die in office. Usually it's the widows, but some are saying, should there be some political experience required here, or I don't know. What's your thought?
I don't think it matters. They don't know what they're doing, whether they have experience or they don't.
That's a good point.
I mean, she isn't wrong.
There you go.
I would say on my rage odometer of things I could be mad about, this one doesn't deeply offend me. She's got some experience.
What's high on your rage odometer?
Things like taking Qatari jets makes me a little madder than this does. She sits on the South Carolina State Workforce Development Board. She's done a lot of advocacy for the blind. So if she wants to come in and represent the state, don't put her on Senate Armed Services maybe, but I think that she's just going to be there in a caretaker role. This isn't that different than Alphonsa Butler in California, who Gavin Newsom appointed in a caretaker role. She ultimately then there was a primary and a race, and Adam Schiff is now the sitting senator. So what's interesting about this, though, to me, is that people were not raising their hand to be appointed to this seat. So President Trump originally wanted to appoint Joe Wilson, the most senior House member in South Carolina, and he reportedly declined. Nikki Haley reportedly wasn't interested, and I think part of it is because Lindsey Graham was up for re-election in these coming midterms. So if you get appointed to this seat, you're immediately running in a contested race. You have to raise a bunch of money. You have to get your name ID up. It's not like the plum appointment that sometimes it would be if someone was earlier in their term. Yeah. So overall, I don't have a huge issue with it. It also once was the most effective way to get women into Congress was through this sort of widow's succession. I wish there had been a better way, but...
Well, they wouldn't, they wouldn't let women in for the longest time.
That was the way to get through. Foot in the door.
Make you wonder what was going on.
I don't love it. I don't love it. She'll be the first woman to be a U.S. senator in South Carolina in the history of the state, and I think that's just fundamentally wrong that South Carolina just couldn't elect a woman, and this is the only way that it was done. I think that experience does matter, and while she is a certified optician and while she has done great work in that field, I don't think that she should be representing the people of South Carolina in the U.S. Senate. I just don't.
Isn't this the very definition of a DEI?
Correct. It's everything that the Republican Party stands against. Everything. It's DEI, nepotism, all these things thrown in together. And at this very same time, Pete Hegseth blocked more promotions for women, in particular for women of color to become admirals. And so this is happening. I feel like our government is fundamentally broken, and I disagree. I disagree with.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not like taking over your mother's job at the McDonald's.
Yeah, it's not.
You're running.
Senate.
You're in government. You have to know what you're doing.
You guys are putting too much stock in who's currently in Congress, I think.
When I first saw this, I thought, oh, do you just do that? With the sibling? So I had to look for context. At first, my reaction was kind of what Sonny and Joy are saying, oh, this isn't a good thing. And then I realized it's kind of the normal thing, that this is what happens on both sides of the aisle. And then I just didn't care as much. Because I do think if I agreed more with Senator Graham, which I don't, this is going to be the person that understands what he stood for and what they elected in South Carolina and what they wanted out of Lindsey Graham. I can't think of a better legacy than someone that was really close with him. But I do say, to push back on Sonny, experience has not served us well, because you could argue her brother was a man of a long term of service, and I wouldn't argue he was killing in there. So I don't think necessarily experience in our government any longer.
But Sarah, we
prerequisite. But it
do
should.
not
It
know.
should matter.
But we do not know her positions on abortion, foreign
I think
policy,
we do.
or health
She
care.
campaigned for her brother.
Well,
She's
why?
going to
Just
be.
because it's your sister doesn't mean she agrees with
No,
it.
she campaigned for him. She appeared in numerous campaign ads. She advocated for. So we know she's going to vote very similarly to Lindsey Graham. But I would note, so Tim Scott became the first black man appointed to the Senate from South Carolina when he was appointed by then Governor Nikki Haley. But then he went on to win and carry on that legacy. So sometimes it's a way to get a foot in the door for representation, even if it's not the ideal
Well,
way.
no, one thing
here's-
just real quickly, Button. One thing I liked is that she had worked on the commission in South Carolina for the blind, and the reason I like that is when you're representing groups and you see a group that needs advocates, that needs allies, that needs to be, she's going to look at the population a little different. That's been her life service. So
like
I like
Obama
that.
was a community organizer like that, and they gave him a lot of crap for that.
Well, listen, you know what?
And he was
The
qualified to be.
people
Exactly.
who are going to be making this decision will make it in November.
Yeah,
That is how we have to look at this. You know, she'll be there till January because everything turns over in January. But it is not up to them. This is up to the people who are going to make the decision. So if you were happy with what was going on, then you know what you're going to do. You're going to find somebody who actually has to do the work to get your votes. She is there. I'm glad that she's not going over across the seas and sitting down talking to anybody.
World leaders.
I'm glad she's
That
not.
we know of.
Well, I don't know that they could do that and have us not know. But I don't believe they want to send anybody over who they can't really control the way that they want to. And I don't think she'd want that because that's a lot more than what she needs to do there. So I'm just saying, the folks who need to make this decision, you know what you got to do. Because these are the rights of the American people. We get to make the decision about who represents us. And because of that, I decide I'm going to represent myself and go to a break.